2, 1. Keep pushing. In this lap. You can do it. It's 4.7 seconds. 5.6 seconds. It's a one of a kind, only in the DTM. Yes, man, you did it. Thank you, guys. Go, 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 go. Yeah!
Hello and a very warm welcome to DTM. This is the 6th round of the Touring Car Series 2015 and we were heading to Russia. This is Moscow International Raceway and we have seen two very thrilling races as we arrived at the straight for the finals of the DTM season 2015. So here are the highlights of the weekend races. Please do enjoy.
Thank you, Ollie Sittler. The 6th DTM weekend of the 2015 season at the Moscow Raceway. The fans turned out in large numbers for the series' most easterly trip. BMW were dominant at Moscow Raceway last year. Maxime Martin won the race ahead of Bruno Spengler. And fourth placed, Marco Wittmann cemented his grip on the top spot in the driver's standings. He'd go on to claim the championship by a big margin. Right now, though, it's Audi drivers that occupy the top two spots in the standings. Matthias Ekström is the leader on 111 points, ahead of Eduardo Mortara on 98 points. Another Audi ace is Jamie Green, and he's not far behind in fourth place in the championship on 81 points. The top Mercedes-Benz man is Pascal Wehrlein in third. However, he could have had even more points, and he thinks he should have if it were not for the biggest scandal in DTM history, Ulrich Gate. Let's flash back to the last lap in Spielberg. Timo Scheider sandwiched between Robert Wickens and Pascal Wehrlein as they head towards turn 2. Wickens blocks the Audi driver, and Wehrlein eventually will pass both to go P4. And it's at this point the team radio crackles with the now notorious words clearly uttered by Audi Motorsport boss Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich: push him out.
Schieb ihn raus.
Scheider did exactly what he was told. Wickens and Wehrlein were spun off into the gravel and came away with no points. Scheider was later disqualified. The DMSB has levied the biggest fine and heaviest penalty in DTM history. Audi was stripped of all the points gained for the team championship in Spielberg, ordered to pay a €200,000 fine to charity. Dr. Ulrich has been banned from the pit lane and team radio until the end of the season, and Timo Scheider was suspended for both races in Moscow.
I'm a little bit disappointed or sad for Pascal and also Robert. I mean, they got pushed out of the race, and obviously those are points that are missing for the championship. But however, that is the decision of the sports court, so we have to take it how it is. And
I think it's important for the sport that we do have this judgment, and that we can go back now to motor racing and do what we're here for.
Audi were allowed a substitute driver in place of Timo Scheider, so it's a first drive in the DTM for the current FIA Formula 3 Championship leader, Antonio Giovinazzi. Here comes the grid for race 1. It's Marco Wittmann on pole and Pascal Wehrlein completing the front row with P2. Then it's Jamie Green for Audi and Timo Glock for BMW. Tom Blomqvist, a good qualifying from him, sees him P5, with Matthias Ekström with work to do from P6. Bruno Spengler is P7 and Miguel Molina is P8. Daniel Juncadella and Nico Muller round out the top 10 in qualifying 1. And it's Adrien Tombe from P11 and Eduardo Mortara P12. Then it's Paul di Resta and Mike Rockenfeller. Last year's Moscow race winner Maxime Martin goes from P16 and Maximilian Goetz is P15. Antonio Felix da Costa and Lucas Auer on the next row of the grid. In for Timo Scheider is Antonio Giovinazzi. He has Gary Paffett for company. Augusto Farfus and Robert Wickens P21 and P22. And rounding out the grid for race 1 at Moscow, it's Martin Tomczyk and Christian Vitoris. No manufacturer then totally dominated the grid for race 1, although just like last year, the BMWs had their noses in front at the Moscow Raceway. So the current champion, Marco Wittmann, is on pole position. Is this his chance to launch a charge up the driver's standings?
I mean, we had a good start in the weekend with a pole position today. And of course, I will try to put this in the victory. I think it will be not easy, the race, but for sure we have the best position to win the race.
The track seems to fit your BMW.
Yeah, I mean, last year Maxime was able to win the race. This year we are again on pole position, which is nice. Of course, we need to consider also a bit the weight, but now we take it like it is, and we try our best to score as many points as possible.
Pascal Wehrlein then, the best Mercedes-Benz driver in P2 for race 1. He's got an excellent opportunity now to make up the ground lost to Matthias Ekstrom following Pascal Wehrlein's DNF in race 2 at Spielberg. P3 for race 1 here in Moscow Raceway is going the way of the Brit driver Jamie Green. Unluckily failed to finish the first race in Spielberg, but is now the best Audi driver in qualifying 1, so he could be a contender for the win. Of course, he already has 3 victories in 2015, but the Brit has suffered seemingly a mid-season loss of form. In P4, it's the former Formula 1 star Timo Glock, who is indeed the second best BMW driver on the grid for race 1 in Moscow. Then we turn our attention to the championship leader. Starting from P6 today, behind the BMW rookie Tom Blomqvist, Matthias Ekstrom. Now, Matthias has been one of the most consistent performers in qualifying this season, although he's only once bagged a pole position. Matthias Ekstrom goes from P6. We continue our tour on the grid ahead of race 1 at the Moscow Raceway, and P7 we find Bruno Spengler, the 4th BMW driver in the top 7. That's a reasonably impressive tally and much to the liking of the BMW Motorsport director Jens Marquardt.
Last year we had Maxime doing his maiden win here, and Marco was second. So Marco now on pole, which I think is a good situation. 4 BMWs up front here is good for us, and yeah, let's see what the race brings. Definitely looks much better than the last weekend.
P12 we find Eduardo Mortara. He's second in the championship, but only P12 on the grid. Therefore, he has got his work cut out if he's to come away with a decent number of points, crucial in his championship charge for Eduardo Mortara. Even more work to do for Gary Paffett then. P20, the 2005 champion, was way off the qualifying pace, although Gary has often demonstrated an uncanny ability to make the very most of unpromising starting positions. He laughs with Esteban Ocon, the Mercedes-Benz DTM reserve driver. And just ahead of the race, we make our traditional visit into the garages of all the brands, Audi, Mercedes-Benz and BMW. We'll throw the lights to the top of the screen and we will go racing. Race 1 here at the Moscow Raceway for DTM is about to get underway. Marco Wittmann wins the start from Wehrlein and Green. The BMW man, Tom Blomqvist, losing out. He makes a dreadful getaway from 5th and slides down the field. Turn 1 and the combination of bends after it proves problematic for the tightly bunched field, and a number of drivers run well wide of the racing line, and at the end of the field, Vitoris and Molina collide in the first turn. And that's not the only casualty either, as Paul de Resta spins out too. This provokes the safety car, and as we look at the replay of the start, Blomqvist on the left in the 3rd row makes a very poor start. See it again from here. Bruno Spengler able to get past Tom Blomqvist with relative ease. And then it's into the first left-hander here at the Moscow Raceway, and then we can see the problems for Miguel Molina, Luckily, a number of drivers did manage to avoid, but Christian Vittoris had absolutely no alternative but to run into the Audi, and it was a big impact between the two cars, and sadly that sees two cars out right at the very start.
First corner, trying to not hit Blomqvist, I lost the car, and then Vittoris was coming from, he could not see me, and it was a big impact, but everything is fine.
And we can see from on board with Eduardo Mortara just a little touch between Molina and the BMW of Tom Blomqvist, which puts Molina's car into that spin. The spin that collects Christian Vittoris, who ends up playing fireman and personally extinguishes the flames coming from his Mercedes-Benz. Let's hear from Christian.
After turn one, Molina just spun in front of me and had nowhere to go. Just hit him pretty hard. But I'm okay. Hopefully we can repair my car for tomorrow, and hopefully can take part of the race tomorrow.
So the race order behind the safety car: Wittmann leads from Wehrlein, then it's Green, Glock, Ekstrom, Spengler, Juncker-Deyer, Blomqvist, Muller and Mortara. Vittoris and Molina then reduced to the role, sadly, of spectators for race one. The restart as Wittmann weaves to get some temperature into the tyres. He retains the lead, and the race order will remain the same behind him as they all go through the final turn, and we go back to racing at Moscow. Marco Wittmann from Pascal Wehrlein, then it's Jamie Green and Timo Glock through turn one, which was the scene of the Vittoris-Molina incident, which brought out the safety car to begin with. So racing resumes this race one. There's two races across any given DTM weekend now, and race one always the shorter, as we see Adrian Tombe there under some pressure as they head up towards the final turn. Antonio Felix da Costa in the Red Bull BMW, and Mike Rockefeller and Gary Paffett behind. Then it's Robert Wickens and Augusto Farfus and Maximilian Goertz together there, and Maximilian Goertz losing out as Farfus passes him. Pascal Wehrlein then, who we are on board with right now, chasing down Marco Wittmann. Some fairly inaudible team radio from Timo Glock. And there we can see the race leader, P2 and P3. And Timo Glock really under pressure now from Matthias Ekstrom, with Bruno Spengler behind him. Ekstrom then very much following in the wheel tracks of the BMW driver Timo Glock. Ahead of him, of course, Ekstrom wants to maximise the points haul from this race and is looking to go through. He goes up the inside. Was there room? Well, there was a gap, but that's a huge impact for Matthias Ekstrom, and Timo Glock and he end up in the tyre wall.
I saw it. You're okay, Chris? Are you okay, Timo?
So team radio there, just checking that both Timo Glock and Matthias Ekstrom are okay. Safety car brought out once again, and here is the incident now. Glock goes to the outside, there is a gap there, begins to turn in, and then, of course, that space is full of the Matthias Ekstrom Audi. They both end up out.
I was having a pretty good pace, and I felt I was faster than him a couple of laps before, and he started to struggle. Then up to turn 7, I had DRS open, started to catch him up, went on the inside, and I was hoping that he would leave a bit of space, as I was already up side by side with him, but unfortunately that was not the case, and we had an accident.
So that the Matthias Ekstrom version of events then, and here we can see, well, Glock was definitely wide. There was a gap there. Whether Matthias Ekstrom was as far alongside the Timo Glock car as perhaps he thought he was, I don't know, because Timo Glock, of course, tried to turn in for that turn, and unfortunately both of them ended up in the gravel and out of the race. Crucially for Matthias Ekstrom in his championship charge, that of course will mean no points for him. Okay, let's hear from Timo Glock, his version of the events now.
If you watch the onboard, if you watch the TV stuff, there is, first of all, enough room for him on the inside. But second of all, he was just not next to me. And there is no reason for me to wave him by. I mean, even if he's Mr. Ekstrom, there's no reason to wave him by. But maybe he thinks sometimes like this.
Well, Timo Glock's slightly different version of events as we see the Ekstrom car being removed. He still leads the standings, but has taken one risk too many and will score no points from the race. So as second time of asking then, Wittmann has to restart following the safety car. He will lead from Wehrlein as they cross the timing line now. So Wehrlein with a great chance to go top of the driver's standings. Pursued by Green, Spengler, Juncadella, Blomqvist, Mortara, Muller, Rockefeller and Antonio Felix da Costa. So we're on board with Eduardo Mortara. Adrian Tombe and Lucas Auer side by side. Augusto Farfus and Maximilian Goertz, and now Martin Tomczyk getting right alongside the Maximilian Goertz car. Paul de Resta is standing by to take advantage of that if he possibly can as well. And, well, Martin Tomczyk goes through, and Maximilian Goertz runs just a little bit to the outside. Problem for Adrian Tombe, he's slowing. Adrian Tombe and another one like Martin Tomczyk, who has not had a brilliant season, that's for sure. Maxime Martin right behind the car of Antonio Giovinazzi, which is actually Timo Scheider's car, with Antonio Giovinazzi the driver for that car this weekend, following Timo Scheider's ban. So we see them right at the back of the pack there. Well, the car right at the very back of the pack is this one. It's Adrian Tombe, who you can see damage to the, as we look at it, right-hand side of the car there. And that is him slowing, allowing the rest of the pack to go through. So it'll be another retirement for Adrian Tombe then. Sadly, he will not be finishing race one anywhere other than with the car parked up in his garage. And there we can see him out of the car, and the car indeed in the garage, with that damage meaning no more racing for Adrian Tombe for today. In the meantime, DRS may now be used, so that means that Pascal Wehrlein will have that. Green closes up to the top two as well. Wehrlein continues his attack on Marco Wittmann as they are very, very close together now. Of course, Pascal Wehrlein will have the benefit of DRS, and Marco Wittmann will not have the benefit of DRS. So that should make the charge for Pascal Wehrlein ever easier. And now, as they get into the final straight before the final turn, this is where Pascal Wehrlein presumably will try now. To the outside of Marco Wittmann he goes. Wittmann tries to cover the line. He's right alongside him, but Wittmann is going to have the inside through the final turn, and therefore down the start-finish straight. Marco Wittmann has denied Pascal Wehrlein, but Pascal keeping with it now, as you can see, and Jamie Green is waiting to pick up any pieces. Eduardo Mortara gets past Tom Blomqvist, and that means that he now goes P6. On board once again with Eduardo Mortara. And Pascal Wehrlein continuing his attack on Marco Wittmann every which way. The BMW driver looks in his rearview mirror. It's full of the Mercedes of Pascal Wehrlein, who is trying everything to unsettle the current champion ahead of him. Then we see Jamie Green. Then it is Bruno Spengler and Daniel Juncadella. So at the moment, Marco Wittmann's defence is stout, and whatever Pascal Wehrlein tries, he is being denied. So Wittmann and Wehrlein. And there you can see the difference between them over the last 3 laps. The margin is under 2/10. And now this long haul, it's very uphill here, having walked this section of the circuit. You don't realise it necessarily from the cameras, but there's quite a climb. As again, Pascal Wehrlein tries to reel in the BMW of Marco Wittmann. He dives to the outside, sells him a dummy, dives up the inside, and this time surely he will go through. Pascal Wehrlein has done enough to take the lead. So, lead changes. It's Wehrlein versus Wittmann. But Wittmann now, of course, is going to have DRS. So the team delighted with the move from Pascal Wehrlein. There he goes, up the inside, and he does go through and takes up the lead. You see it on board from the Pascal Wehrlein car now. Heavy braking, and was able to make the Mercedes sufficiently wide to prevent Wittmann trying to come back on him. Now under pressure is Tom Blomqvist from fellow Brit Gary Paffett. So Tom Blomqvist in the grey BMW, then the blue and yellow Mercedes-Benz of Gary Paffett. It's P7 that Gary is after. It's a sterling effort from Gary Paffett, considering he started way down the order. And a good drive from Tom Blomqvist as well, in all honesty. It's good qualifying from Tom Blomqvist, but the pace of Gary Paffett is undenied, having worked his way up the order to where he is now. Jamie Green is looking racy on Marco Wittmann and is after P2, that's for sure. But of course he is having to keep an eye on Bruno Spengler right behind him as Arno Zenzen looks on at the battle. There is Gary Paffett, who has got past Tom Blomqvist and moves up another place in the order. Brilliant drive from Gary Paffett in the Euronics liveried Mercedes-Benz. And here we can see how he did it. It's into that final turn here at the Moscow Raceway. At the inside of Tom Blomqvist. Nico Muller getting ever so close to Tom as well. So Paffett then gaining P7 on Tom Blomqvist. Let's hear from Gary now.
Well, I think it shows we didn't really maximise the performance in qualifying. You know, P20 is not where we should have been. And it meant we knew we could go forwards, but difficult to know how much. But I mean, I stayed out of trouble the first couple of corners and made a couple of positions at the start as well. Made a great start and made 2 people before turn 1. That got me up to sort of P15 by the first safety car, and then obviously Eki and Glock going out gave me 2 more places, but then the other 6 places I had to make them myself on the track. And
so we are on to the final lap. Marco Wittmann P2, Jamie Green P3, then it's Bruno Spengler and Daniel Juncker-Deya. For the last time of asking, then they head up towards the final turn here at the Moscow Raceway. Pascal Wehrlein with a commanding lead over the P2 driver Marco Wittmann, as you can see there. Jamie Green is under a bit of pressure now for the final podium place, as Bruno Spengler goes to the outside and goes through. So Bruno Spengler picks up P3, denies Jamie Green. Daniel Juncker-Deya tries to go for it as well, but he is denied. So it's Wehrlein, Wittmann, and then it is Bruno Spengler. Well, there's delight in the Mercedes-Benz garage. Here's Uli Fritz.
I think that's incredible for us at the moment, and they're just great to see how Pascal got his motivation back after what happened in Spielberg. So it's showed an insane performance today, which just incredible.
So delighted Uli Fritz, a less delighted Arno Zenzen from Sport Team Rosberg. Then Jamie Green's Audi team has he's seen that podium place taken away by Bruno Spengler, and this is how Bruno Spengler did it in replay, just drove around the Audi. And Daniel Juncker-Deya fancying his chances as well, but denied by Jamie Green. So final podium place goes to Bruno Spengler.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an interesting race today for the fans, because there was a lot of overtaking, a lot of things happened, and you know, after the medium qualifying we had this morning, I'm very happy to be P3. My team did a great job, and in the last, during the race after the last safety car, I could see that Jamie Green was doing a few mistakes, and he did a couple of mistakes before the back straight in the last lap, and I was really close, and I could use the DRS and overtake him on the outside. My car was pretty good on the brakes, and I could make the move, and was one of the most interesting moves in my DTM career so far, because it was in the last corner, in the last lap. That's always fun.
So there is the confirmed result then. Wehrlein, Wittmann, Spengler, the top 3 with Green, Juncker-Deya and Mortara as we watch the podium now. And Pascal Wehrlein then collects his trophy. He'll be absolutely delighted with that. Is he going to follow in the footsteps of the 2012 and 2014 DTM champions? Well, let's hear from one of them now, Marco Wittmann.
Even if he passed me, I tried to stay in the DRS window, but that was not for a long time possible. So at the end he was quicker than us. Of course could be a bit more happier if I could win the race, but actually to be on the podium is also something nice.
Pascal Wehrlein then enjoying the success in race 1 here at Moscow Raceway. So championship hopes this year, well, it's looking like it's going the way of a Mercedes or Audi driver. Pascal Wehrlein P1 in the championship now, Matthias Ekstrom P2, Eduardo Mortara P3 and Jamie Green P4. Well, he's taken the race 1 win here in Moscow. Let's hear from Pascal Wehrlein.
I'm really happy. The race was nearly perfect. Without the 2 safety cars, maybe our gap would be even bigger, and I could have overtaken Wittmann a bit earlier, but still our performance was really strong, and I have to thank the team. Because after Spielberg we had a hard time, I had a hard time, and that's the best way to come back.
So the all-new DTM for 2015 means 2 races per weekend. Race 1 is done and an exciting DTM race day comes to an end. Happily enough, though, there's another race tomorrow too, as we watch Pascal Wehrlein enjoying his champagne moment. And here comes the grid for race 2 at Moscow. Mike Rockenfeller is pole position with Bruno Spengler alongside him. Maxime Martin takes P3 and Jamie Green P4. To the third row of the grid, we find Matthias Ekström. He's got a grid drop because of the incident with Timo Glock, and he has Nico Müller alongside him. Gary Paffett goes from P7 with Tom Blomqvist. P8, the two Brits together. Then it's Augusto Farfus and Marco Wittmann with two BMWs together on the next row of the grid. Pascal Wehrlein, yesterday's winner, just P11 in quali for Pascal Wehrlein and Daniel Juncker-Deya with him. Then it's Eduardo Mortara and Timo Glock, P13 and P14. Lucas Auer, P15, and Robert Wickens, P16, qualifying not going the way of those two today. Maximilian Goertz is P17 with Miguel Molina, P18. Adrian Tombe, who didn't finish race 1, is P19. Antonio Felix da Costa, P20. They worked all night to get the Christian Vittora's car repaired. P22 for him, P21 for Paul de Resta. Then it's Martin Tomczyk and Antonio Giovinazzi on the final row of the grid. So not a great quali for yesterday's race winner.
You see how close DTM is, so 2/10 to P1. I mean, 2/10 is nothing, and I just had one new set of tires, but that shouldn't be an excuse. My lap wasn't perfect. Yesterday I brought it all together, and that's why I start from P11, but still, many things are possible in the race.
Well, the slightly cooler temperatures for race day 2 haven't helped Mercedes-Benz. The best Mercedes-Benz driver is Gary Paffett from P7. The two rival manufacturers are occupying all the places in front of him. Let's hear from the Mercedes DTM boss, Ulrich Fritz, now.
It was not the qualifying we were expecting. I think if you look at the time scales, it is really very close. Gary was nearly 1/10 of a second behind, and then he was P7. So yeah, it's incredibly tough and tight in DTM, and that's what we saw today. So yeah, we just need to optimize this, what we have now, and go from here. So yeah, and yesterday we had a long night with Christian Vittora's car. Luckily, the guys put all the efforts into it and yeah, got it together. So he will be able to start the race here. And yeah, that's first of all, thanks to the whole team from my side.
Well, we mentioned in our grid animation that Matthias Ekström got a grid drop. He posted the second fastest time in qualifying for race 2, but was deemed to be at fault for the crash in race 1 with the BMW driver Timo Glock, and therefore was demoted 3 places on the grid. Jamie Green turned in another very good qualifying performance, and off the back of the podium denial which he suffered yesterday, he'll be hoping for good things from the second row of the grid. Jamie Green goes from P4. Maxime Martin has a likeness for the Moscow Raceway and a likeness for race day on the Sunday as well, because put the two together and he was victorious last year. Of course, back then we only had one race across a DTM race weekend, and he took his maiden DTM victory here at the Moscow Raceway last year. From P3, from today's quali, he has every opportunity to take another win. Let's see if he can do that in the BMW M4 DTM. And the best BMW driver, Bruno Spengler, goes from P2, brimming with confidence following the podium that he got yesterday. The BMW Bank driver then on the front row of the grid, alongside the Phoenix Audi stalwart, Mike Rockenfeller, who Ollie's with now.
I'm on pole position, so we had a great qualifying. I had a good car today. Yesterday it was not so good, so we were in the middle of the field and finished P10. So obviously the goal is to win the start and the race, of course.
As always, the tension mounts in the garages.
That's now the top.
Mike Rockenfeller's team radio. We're in the Audi garage, the BMW garage, and now the Mercedes-Benz garage right ahead of the start of race 2. Lights out, and we are away and racing. Mike Rockenfeller and Bruno Spengler both get away reasonably well. Is Bruno Spengler going to try and go up the inside of Mike Rockenfeller here? Mike Rockenfeller is squeezed out just a little bit, but comes back on ahead of Bruno Spengler. Maxime Martin trying to take advantage. Adrian Tombe right at the back of the pack runs wide, and Spengler is sticking with Mike Rockefeller here. Lucas Auer is another one that's squeezed out onto the dirt, and Maxime Martin goes for a move on Spengler, but goes too far. He's out. Jamie Green tries to take advantage. Let's go on board the Maxime Martin car so that we can see what's happening here. All this, of course, is playing into the hands of Mike Rockefeller, who's able to get on up the road. Bruno Spengler is not prepared to yield an inch and denies Jamie Green. Maxime Martin goes for a move on Jamie Green now, though. And Antonio Giovinazzi goes for a move right across the gravel and the grass in a real high-speed manoeuvre as he goes for an off in the Timo Scheider car, but is able to rejoin. So Mike Rockefeller is getting himself up the road now as everyone begins to settle down a little bit. Pascal Wehrlein, of course, desperate to try and make up some places, and Eduardo Mortara has got past him. That's bad news for Pascal Wehrlein, who, of course, came into this race leading the championship. Timo Glock and Robert Wickens together as they all head up to complete the first lap of race 2 at the Moscow Raceway. Mike Rockefeller leads from Bruno Spengler, from Jamie Green. Huge lock up there from Nico Muller, and is that going to allow Gary Paffett to go through? So Paffett and Muller do get out together, but Paffett goes through to take up P6. Are we on the start of another sterling drive from Gary Paffett up the order? There's Matthias Ekström, there's Gary Paffett, Muller, Blomqvist. Mike Rockefeller goes through the debris, presumably left by Antonio Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi having been forced off by Antonio Felix da Costa, and then it was that high-speed gravel and grass cutting moment. Let's see a replay of the start now, and the start reaction on the left-hand side of your screen. Mike Rockefeller and Bruno Spengler really battling out together on the front row of the grid. Staggered grid, of course, here at the Moscow Raceway. And that was Maxime Martin going for his move on Spengler, which really didn't work and nearly played into the hands of Jamie Green as well. That was Pascal Wehrlein being passed by Eduardo Mortara on board with Matthias Ekström, who just sat back and watched the cars ahead of him all battling together. Matthias Ekström ready to pounce if he possibly could on board with Maxime Martin. A fantastic shot that we're able to bring you here. At one point there, right on the back of Mike Rockefeller, but then he was out wide, and Bruno Spengler and also Jamie Green trying to go through. So the after-start ranking, as you can see, Jamie Green up 1, Maxime Martin down 1. Then it's Ekström, Paffett, Muller, Wittmann, Blomqvist, Farfus, Mortara, and Pascal Wehrlein. Crucially, Pascal Wehrlein is P12. 2 places out of the points. And we're on board with Pascal Wehrlein now, chasing down Eduardo Mortara, who is ahead of him. Jamie Green once again with another move. Trying a move on Bruno Spengler. Maxime Martin, who of course has gone backwards. And there is Matthias Ekström. If he can bank as many points as possible by finishing up the order, and way ahead of Pascal Wehrlein, that could see him back into the championship lead once again. The man that's got all the work to do is Pascal Wehrlein, and he's trying to do that right now. Eduardo Mortara making the Audi as wide as possible and denying the Mercedes-Benz a way through. So the determination and the fight in the Pascal Wehrlein car, as we're back on board with him, chasing down Eduardo Mortara. Mortara brakes, Wehrlein just taking a look at half a gap, but not close enough to be able to do anything. What, of course, is crucial for Mortara is to stay within the DRS window by keeping close to Farfus.
You need to come in as soon as possible.
Copy, give me information of tire pressures.
Well, that sounded like Edo wants to come in as quickly as possible. Team radio asking for tyre pressure information. We stay on board with Pascal Wehrlein, who is behind the Audi of Edo Mortara. Just heard that conversation on team radio as Pascal Wehrlein continues to hound the Audi ahead. So, DRS, of course, can be used not only to attack, but also to defend as well. And if Edo can stay within Augusto Farfus's DRS window, he has it.
3, 8, -12, -7.
So the tyre pressure information being fed back as once again Pascal Wehrlein mounts a challenge on the Eduardo Mortara car as they run up the straight before the final turn here, and dives to the inside. Can Pascal Wehrlein go through? Edo Mortara will go for the switchback, and I think Mortara's going to have it. I think he'll be able to squeeze Pascal Wehrlein out. So Wehrlein is denied. Valiant effort. but it didn't quite work out.
Next time, Pascal, next time, next time. Keep him busy, he's not having DRS.
So the engineer then reporting back exactly what I said, that Augusto Farfus and the gap between Eduardo Mortara and Augusto Farfus is absolutely crucial for Edo, because he needs to stay within that window so that he can use DRS to defend against Pascal Wehrlein. And Pascal Wehrlein, by keeping him so busy in terms of having to defend from him, well, as Pascal's race engineer has said, next time, Pascal. This is the battle for P7 then. Nico Muller, Marco Wittmann. P6 is Gary Pavitt. You can see ahead. Tom Blomqvist behind in P8. Nico Muller at the moment is able to deny Marco Wittmann. Both of them using DRS, one to attack and one to defend, of course. And there is Gary Pavitt in the Mercedes, who has a comfortable margin over Nico Muller. And there is the battle that we've been focusing on between Pascal Wehrlein and Eduardo Mortara. All at the sharp end of the championship, these two, and fighting like good uns out there on track at the moment. Everything Pascal Wehrlein tries to do, he is being denied by the Audi driver Eduardo Mortara. Is he going to go for the same move once again as they head towards the final turn here at the Moscow Raceway? Well, in just a few seconds' time, we are going to find out. Pascal Wehrlein needs to keep right with him. Here we go. Let's see if he can make a move count on this occasion. That's our race leader, Mike Rockenfeller, going through. Bruno Spengler and Jamie Green is keeping him keen, that's for sure. And Maxime Martin in P4 at the moment. And here comes Pascal Wehrlein for the second time of asking. This time, can he make it count? Up the inside, it looks like he's further ahead this time, and Eduardo Mortara is unable to defend that move that time. So Pascal Wehrlein now moves up to P11. Daniel Juncadella fancies his chances as well. We're on board with Eduardo Mortara as those places switch then. Now, crucially for Pascal Wehrlein, he's still not in the points. Equally, nor is Eduardo Mortara. But Pascal Wehrlein, second time of asking then, has managed to get past. And here it is in replay, up the inside and far enough ahead so that Eduardo Mortara couldn't switch to the inside and get them place back again. So congratulations to Pascal Wehrlein from the Mercedes garage there. In comes Jamie Green now, mandatory pit stop. Also in, Marco Wittmann, Augusto Farfus, Pascal Wehrlein, Eduardo Mortara. All of a sudden the pit lane becomes very, very busy. Oh, and it's a slow stop for Jamie Green, very slow stop, and he's out right alongside Augusto Farfus. Pascal Wehrlein had to take evasive action to prevent him running into Augusto Farfus, and crucially, he loses that place to Eduardo Mortara. So Edo Mortara actually won that place back in the pit lane, and I think that was brought about really because he had to take evasive action to avoid running into Augusto Farfus. Let's see it again in replay. Really, really slow pit stop for Jamie Green. That was the problem. So the front tyre there, front wheel, would not come off. And therefore, it was slow. As he was released, there was Augusto Farfus. He brakes. Pascal Wehrlein has to dive up the inside to avoid running into him. We can see it from on board with Augusto Farfus. And that was where Farfus had to lock up almost. Pascal Wehrlein had to move to the side, and that is what has cost Pascal Wehrlein that place. Maxime Martin in now. Super stop from the BMW team RMG. Gary Pavitt and Nico Muller side by side. What a busy place the pit lane is as Maxime Martin rejoins significantly ahead of Jamie Green. Now, of course, we've not seen Spengler in, we've not seen Mike Rockenfeller in. There's Edo Mortara, who got the place back against Pascal Wehrlein. Here's Mike Rockenfeller. Doesn't look like he's coming in this time. His position on the track there, he certainly stays out. But Bruno Spengler comes in. Now, what will be really, really interesting is where he will filter out relative to Maxime Martin. I think Mike Rockenfeller has got enough of a cushion where he's going to be untroubled. However, Maxime Martin, well, let's see. We'll put the graphic on the right-hand side of the screen for you. There it is. So we need a really, really good job from BMW team M-Tech as Bruno Spengler comes in for his mandatory pit stop. And there is Maxime Martin, who rounds the final turn now. Out goes Spengler. Now Spengler is going to get out ahead of Maxime Martin. So Bruno Spengler stays ahead of Maxime Martin, but I would say that Martin is closer. Martin closes right up on Bruno Spengler now. Mike Rockenfeller still having not been in. On board to watch Maxime Martin at work then, as he chases Bruno Spengler. Next in the pit stop, though, it's Matthias Ekstrom. So what we do, we throw the graphics again up there. Can Eki gain anything out of this pit stop? It was a very, very quick one. The Abt crew doing a great job. Ekstrom rejoins now. Where is he going to be relative to Jamie Green? So there's Spengler, there's Martin, and Eki's going to be ahead of Jamie Green, so he makes up a place in the pit stops. So Matthias Ekstrom gains 1 place. He comes out ahead of Jamie Green. So he maximising his points haul. And all the time, Pascal Wehrlein struggling to bank even 1 point. Here comes Mike Rockenfeller.
Torres. Müssen alles geben.
So some team radio. Rocky should be fine. He had a comfortable margin.
Pit stop lights. Pit stop lights.
Rocky's on his way out. You can see there where Bruno Spengler is. He's only now into the turn, and Mike Rockenfeller is on his way out of the pit lane. And what he also has is going to have the comfort factor of Lucas Auer, who still hasn't been in for his pit stop. So Mike Rockenfeller's going to be protected a little bit by Lucas Auer in the Mercedes, who of course is in his own race and has chosen not to stop yet. So Bruno Spengler got to find his way past Lucas Auer before he could even think about attacking Mike Rockenfeller. And well, the dismal DTM season that Martin Tomczyk is having continues.
Actually, we don't know what's wrong with the car. Overall, it was one of my worst DTM weekend ever, and the result was just crap. So we don't know if there is something in the inner part wrong with the car, but the whole weekend it was just gambling and chasing times, and I never could come close to the times as well now in the race. I honestly don't know, but I'm happy that the weekend is over for me now.
In replay, we can see the battle going on between Gary Pafford and Marco Wittmann here. Now, this will be effectively for P6 after all the pit stops are done. Part of Gary's car being thrown off there in the panel rubbing between the BMW and the Mercedes-Benz, but Gary standing firm his ground and makes up another place. And now you can see that he's been released from the clutches of the BMW. He's definitely the quicker car, and he's on his way. Eduardo Mortara gets past the Nico Müller car, and therefore effectively goes P8. And we watch now as Pascal Wehrlein tries to get past Tom Blomqvist. This will be for 1 championship point, and Pascal Wehrlein does go through on Tom Blomqvist. The Mercedes overtakes the BMW, but of course Pascal Wehrlein will be hoping to have seized much more out of this race. Where did it all go wrong?
I think the problem was our bad qualifying today, only P11, and you know then it's really hard. If you see the gap from qualifying 2/10 to P1, it's nothing, and you know everyone is nearly on the same level, and so it's really hard to overtake. But I managed to overtake some cars, and then we had an incident in the pits where I lost positions again, and I had to overtake them again. So the race was just not perfect, same as the qualifying, and you see how quickly it goes in DTM.
And now Wehrlein closes up to Nico Müller. He's now only 0.489 seconds behind the Swiss driver. Mortara ahead of them in 8th. If Ekstrom fails to improve and Wehrlein can move up 2 places, he could remain championship leader, though it is a big ask. So we go on board with Pascal Wehrlein. Is doing his level best. I think it is going to be very hard work indeed. Doesn't stop the tension showing, though, on the face of Hans-Jürgen Abt, then on the Abt Sportsline pit wall. Ekstrom is having a real go at Maxime Martin. Adjusts the brake bias, as you can see. And he reels in the car of Maxime Martin. Is he going to make the move? Stick. Dives up the inside of Maxime Martin, and Matthias Ekstrom goes through to pick up P3.
Now you get DRS, push.
So Maxime Martin being told that he does have DRS, which he can now use to re-attack Matthias Ekström, who of course has just passed him. But Matthias Ekström appears to have the pace advantage over the BMW. Let's see it in replay then. And of course, if all the positions stay the way they are now, Matthias Ekström would retake the championship lead and have a slender margin over Pascal Wehrlein. This is how he did it on Maxime Martin then, to get that final podium position away. And where you can see that the Mercedes team of Pascal Wehrlein far from delighted. In the meantime, Mike Rockenfeller, who's had a trouble-free race, did all the hard work in qualifying by setting the car up for pole position. A comfortable lead and a comfortable victory for Mike Rockenfeller.
Yeehaw! Well done. Congratulations. Good job, Rocky.
Super geiles Rennenfahrer. Einfach wunderbar. Wie der Alte. Bin sehr zufrieden.
Well, the Phoenix boss Ernst Moser is pretty happy, and I expect head of Audi DTM is too.
Yeah, I think after yesterday you couldn't really expect that today. Qualifying was already there, good, very good. But the race, I think it could really not have gone a lot better for us. I mean, Rocky struggled a bit in the first corner, but he defended well. It was a fair maneuver as well from Bruno. And then I think he was just simply the fastest car on the track, and he drove his race and was able to draw away. But the fight that Matthias and Jamie put on was fantastic, and as well Eduardo, who made up positions, the fight with Wehrlein there and Nico. I think that was fantastic racing for everybody and a brilliant result for Audi, obviously.
Well, the top three then, Rocky, Spengler and Ekström. As you can see, Pascal Wehrlein just into the points-paying positions in 10th place. Let's hear from P2, Bruno Spengler.
My feeling is a little bit mixed because for sure I'm very happy. I mean, it was a great weekend. We scored some good points. I'm happy for the team, for all the hard work they did to improve the car. And, you know, it's not an easy year for us so far. And that's why, you know, for sure it's nice to be first BMW, but this is not the ultimate goal. You know, the ultimate goal is to be on the top, on the very top, to fight for the championship, and this year we are struggling a little bit to do that. But
Audi are delighted, as you can see, from Hans-Jürgen Abt and Dieter Gas as they enjoy the podium ceremony. Ernst Moser enjoying it as well, because he's up there as his driver. Mike Rockenfeller receives his trophy from Manfred Sandbichler. Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, of course, will have to applaud from afar. Let's hear from the race winner now, though.
It was a tough year so far, really, really tough. One of the hardest I had in the last 5 years, I would say. So it really feels great, you know, to win this race and be back on the podium and be back on pace. We had yesterday again a very difficult, let's say, start in the weekend with a bad race and a bad qualifying. Today's pole was awesome, and then the race pace, I think, was for the weight we have in the car quite outstanding.
Matthias Ekström takes back the lead in the driver's standings. Pascal Wehrlein is only 6 points behind, and you shouldn't write off Jamie Green just yet. With 6 races to go, a maximum of 150 points are still to be won.
Actually, I'm most happy to have a trouble-free day. Yesterday with the big crash, my mechanics, Pavel and Erich, they were working the whole night. They did not sleep. And before I went to bed, I went in the garage. There was only a monocoque and an engine. Everything else were gone. And to give back a trophy for them will be a nice feeling.
So what's your plan for the next race at Oschersleben?
No, I mean, the championship is still long, and I think we will keep the same weight like when I entered here. So again, we will be one of the heaviest car in the field, which for sure will be challenging there. But we have to take all the points we can. All the time you take points, you take some weight. So it's still 6 races to go.
Thanks a lot, Matthias Ekström. That is a 2-time champion of DTM, and maybe he gets it. We will see. In 2 weeks' time, we're back with DTM, then in Oschersleben. Hope to see you then again.